Welcome to another episode of Game Tactical Tuesday. We are joined by Rob Chevez, right, our business partner, founder of the Great Investor Network. He runs a little real estate team for 17 years, sold a couple $1 billion in real estate, and we just got back from the Bigger Pockets convention. We think
We
going
did.
into court. Yep. So, gonna have a quick conversation with you just about what are 10 things that you could be doing right now to be making money in quarter four when others are slowing down, right? When we're sitting here planning for the next year, what could I be doing right now? What are some moves that I could be making to set myself up for success immediately? And tomorrow we have a call set up at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. It's Juliana, I'll drop the chat here. It's bit.ly, BPCon Decoded, and we're going to have a mastermind with all of the really smart, handsome, intelligent, dynamic people that we met at Bigger Pockets to share their takeaways. And we wanted to give you some focus frameworks of what could you be doing here. If you want to jump into that mastermind network and meet people, we'll share that. This is going to be just for the agents on the call. So, Rob, how did you enjoy Bigger? What is Bigger Pockets, first of all? People ask me that, and I forget not everybody lives in this same little bubble we live in, right?
That's right. That's right. I mentioned it to a couple of people. They're like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Only the largest real estate investment podcast, right? They're like the OG investment podcast." And about 4 years ago, they decided to bring the community together, and they did Bigger Pockets conference, like BBCon. And last year we did it in Cancun. This year we did it in Vegas. It's a good time. Thousands of investors from all over the country come together, and we talk shop. Right? There's people that are interested in ADUs. There's people that are interested in storage. There's people that are interested in single family, that like multifamily, like whatever you want to find, you will find there. And I found it interesting because a lot of people go there to raise capital. I noticed that was interesting. A lot of people looking for
Hmm.
capital on projects, right? So I think it's the place to go open your mind about how big our world of real estate actually is. Because oftentimes we've got this little myopic view of what we do. And we realize, wow, that when you go there, there's so many people doing some incredible things, right? Incredible things. And so but we're going to talk about that in depth tomorrow, right? We're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about what we need to do in Q4 to get ready for 2026, right? That's what this discussion's about. Cherie, you got a question?
Just a comment. 1/3 of all houses sold in the United States are sold to investors. So I always bring that up whenever we have these conversations. As agents, if you're not targeting investors in some sort of way, I think that you are missing out on a really great audience of people. So just want to say
Yeah,
that.
yeah, Cherie, multi-transactional buyers and sellers. That's why I like them, right?
Hmm.
You can why work with somebody once every 10 years when you can work with somebody once 10 times in 1 year, right? So it's a powerful thought process. Okay, so let's talk about Q4, right? Justin, what are we going to do in Q4? Q4 is your time to in fact, I was thinking this morning, all the things that we need to do to ensure that we set ourselves up correctly for 2026, but also to protect our downside during wintertime in our business. Okay, so you wrote down in the document prioritizing ROI. Like, what does that mean? Like, how do you prioritize ROI? And what I wrote down here was focus on the thing that makes you money. We often get distracted by lots of things that we need to do, and we stop focusing on the things that actually make us money. So part of the exercise is to go back over the last 3 quarters and ask yourself, what has worked? Why did it work? And can I double down on that thing to really extract as much juice as possible, right? For Q4. So for us, one of the things, just to give you like real world example, was that last year I set a goal for the organization to do 1,000 listing appointments. Okay. That worked. We have had a we've doubled our listings since this time last year. We've had a very good year. And I think a lot of it came down to prioritizing taking listings, right? That was the mantra. Take territory, take listings, right? But I've been a little distracted over the last month, Justin, doing like lots of other things. And I haven't been focused as much or beating that drum as much. And as we go into the winter months, I know that focusing on listings is a winning strategy. So we need to get back to that. And I need to go back and say, okay, where are we in relation to the 1,000? What's the gap? What are we going to do today to take more listings?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there might be some people, Justin, on here that are saying, I don't want to take a listing. My listings aren't selling. How would you answer that question?
So the game is always somebody is winning in every market. And how do I align myself with the people that are actually transacting or are actually winning? Right. So there's just two parts there. One, controlling inventory will always win. Like in a down
Yes.
market, taking more inventory is the solution, right? But the second is during COVID, if you were working with an FHA first time home buyer, man, really frustrating market. You care about the first time home buyer, you're getting outbid. It is off. If you're working with cash buyers or relocating to your area from the West Coast, great market. Man, I'm coming in here. We're winning everything. We're bidding above. Like someone is transacting. So I'd say it's two. It's having real conversations. I've took an expired listing, Rob, that expired at 480. We relisted it at 400 for somebody. She came to the table with her last month's mortgage payment, $3,000 to get away from a property. Like
Yeah.
someone had to
We're
have an
going to see.
honest conversation with her about what it was going to take to actually be able to move in this market. There's 13 months of inventory in that, you know, so how are we going to be one of the 10 homes that actually moved this month? And when I broke it down that way, she said, I get it. I don't like it, but I understand. I understand. And
Yeah.
we listed at 400 and we sold within, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to take somebody. So there's two pieces to this, right? The agent that controls inventory and is the consultant fiduciary to the client that tell them the hard things, the things that have to happen in order to help properties move. That person wins. Okay. When you control inventory, obviously you generate more buyer leads, more seller leads, everything. You are the employer, as Corey likes to say, not the employee. I love that. You're the employer, not the employee. Now, on the flip side, if you're an investor listening to this right now, you're going to start seeing additional opportunity open up in the market. You just are. It's been so competitive for so long, and right now the market is taking a breather. And so you have the opportunity to buy into this market. Now you got to be careful because we don't know how deep this shift is going to be. If you're buying for the long term, you're good, right? If you're buying to fix and flip or to develop, I'd be cautious. Be cautious. Doesn't mean you can't make money, right? We're about to put one on the market, hopefully in the next few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. And, I'm like, damn, the market shifted on us a little bit, right? It's okay. We bought it at a really good price. We're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm realistic about like what's going to happen. So prioritizing ROI. Let's go back. Focus on the main thing that makes you money. So in my business, it's listings and people. Right? What is it in your business? Second thing you wrote down is, so how do we increase our cash flow for the holidays? Holidays are right around the corner, guys, right? How are we going to increase our cash flow? Well, I bet you some of you, or maybe I'm the only one, has gotten a little sloppy over the summertime and beginning of fall. Like you've let some of your expenses get out of whack. This is the time to go back in and look at your expenses and start trimming up some of those expenses, right? Little things like, I'm just thinking your Paramount, your Netflix. I mean, there's two ways to make money. You can increase revenue, you decrease expenses. When you decrease expenses, you margin your way to profit. What people don't understand, you margin your way to profit. Sometimes people try to dig themselves out of a hole by doing more, but as you go into the winter months, you may not produce more, so you got to margin your business today for winter. Fall is typically a good time in our business. Winter is a slower time. So right now you need to be going into your business P&L and your household P&L and just cleaning stuff up and realizing like the season we're entering into.
I suspect what the challenge for some of us is, certainly the challenge for me is, as I would hear these things about holding my money accountable, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't really have a system or a process, or my solution was to sell more, right? I go generate more revenue. I couldn't tell you, you know, am I holding this money accountable? Man, it feels like the money I spent on open houses or signs or these like other initiatives give me some sort of ROI, but I didn't have a system and I couldn't articulate what the ROI was because maybe I'm
Yep.
not tracking my leads. So it might be as basic if you're hearing this is just, hey, going back through, auditing all of my closed transactions, where do those transactions come from? Right? And holding those things accountable because there's been plenty of things we know this, Rob. I love doing an influence play. I love doing something long term and not necessarily making short term money to my detriment, right? Of
Yeah.
like stacking all the chips in the future and not having cash flow in the present. Thank God Corey, right, balances me out on the short term cash flow. So it may be getting clear on what am I spending on, what my ROI is. If I don't, then I may have to start tracking it. So that
Yes.
maybe I'm having this conversation next year, but I actually could say, oh yeah, we sent those postcards and that led to this one deal. Cool.
Yes.
That's a 4-to-1 return. That might be where I'm starting off or holding my P&L accountable. Um, I do have a now tip to gain some cash. Any thoughts on that part for business planning purposes in terms of tracking? How did you start? How did you get clarity around that?
I got real. We call it reality check, right? Uh, Oftentimes those that get into our business are optimists. And so they're like, the deal is right around the corner. It's right around the corner, right? And you need the reality check your money. How much oxygen do I have in my tank, which is AKA cash reserves? Am I tracking my expenses every single month? Do I actually know what those are? So for me, you hear me preach about this all the time, this basic discipline of you reviewing your P&L with your board of directors. Your board of directors could be your spouse, your friends, your business partner, and actually reflecting on your P&L and asking yourself the question, do we have enough gas in the gas tank? Do we have enough revenue coming in, right? Is there any place that we need to cut back because we don't have enough revenue coming in? Listen, guys, that's what this business is all about. That's how you survive and thrive in shifting markets. And by the way, when the market shifts, it is your opportunity to thrive. But you need to shift faster than other people. Most people put their head in the sand and ignore like what's happening. Not you, but most. Not the people that show up here. So get real about your business money and then get real about your household money. So we run two businesses at all times. Your household business and then your business, right? your household is a business. How do you know that your household business is suffering? You have credit card debt. That's how you know. Okay. So then you have to say, okay, my household business isn't doing well. What do I need to cut in my household business to make sure that I don't have any more credit card debt? What do you need to do in your business in order to thrive? You need to focus on generating inventory and then selling that inventory. Listen, there's this concept called the cash conversion cycle. Cash conversion cycle, if you can get all of your listings under contract in 15 days, Justin, right? Get all your listings under contract in 15 days, right? Or
Yep.
or let's just say, let's look back to what happened with COVID. Things were selling from beginning to end in like 20 days, 15 to 20 days. What did that do for your cash conversion cycle?
Sped it up, compressed it.
It compressed it, put more money in your bank account faster, right? Now imagine that that same listing, instead of taking 15 days, is now taking 60 days. What happens to your cash conversion cycle?
I've got to have a lot more cash out on the street tied up. I got a lot more, potential energy, not kinetic energy. It's just sitting there.
And so, and what happens if you don't have that cash in your bank account to weather the 45-day stretch, the 50-day stretch? And by the way, this is when you need to have these like better conversations with sellers, letting them know what has to happen. Right? So right now is the time to look at all these things, guys. That's what this time is for.
I would say a couple things are going to happen too. One, it's about building the rhythm. I didn't understand so much. Like I would talk to Rob, and so many of the things he would talk about are seemingly common sense. And I want to jump to the lesson. And there is no skipping, there's no skipping practice. There's no getting in condition without running the sprints. And so it was like, oh, nope, I have been closing my books out every month for 2 years, every single month, and some of it is just building the rhythm where I at least show up and I look at it that month, and I didn't wasn't a master at cutting all my expenses month 6, but after you're doing it for a while, you start really getting a feel for that seems off, this is what's going on, and that time is protected, like building the rhythm of protecting the time working on the business. The second thing I found is when you become conversant in that, things are going to change. You're going to have different conversations with other agents. You're definitely gonna have a different conversation with other sellers. Like I can articulate to a seller, like, exactly, hey, everyone runs an individual business. And maybe you've worked with Shree before, and she's a single agent. And she's running, like, here's how I run my business. I pay myself this amount, right? I set aside this amount. We're about this about profitability. And like being able to have that conversation when I am sitting down and articulating what we do as a team and why I feel like a team model works well for the services I deliver to my client. I have, in a down market, been able to raise the revenue that I'm charging, been able to offset, been able to add transaction fees and doing some of those other things. But it is because I talk about like I am running a business. It is the reality of if I was working for myself, yeah, good Lord. If I just made $10,000 instead of $2,400, sure, we could do all kinds of things. I could buy you a new fridge. Like those conversations kind of changed the model. It's changed who I attract. And I think there's something that I could think of right now, Rob, for the next thing of what I would do right now if I was sitting in your shoes and I wanted to make money in quarter 4 right now. It'd be two things. One, the biggest cost. What's the biggest cost to a business, Rob? We know this. To every sales business, it's unconverted leads. Is unconverted leads. I can see it in my business. When I look at the number of appointments we've set, Rob, I was like, based off of the number of appointments, we have crushed it. And there is money in the banana stand. There is stuff that we have not converted, people that were not ready, that canceled an appointment because life showed up and no one's calling them now. Zillow has given up. They're not getting their phone melted from because they, got their mortgage pulled, that we need to go back and have a conversation and say, hey, do you need to make a move before the end of the year? And I'd say the same thing as everybody in our world, especially with the changes that happened legislatively this year, right? How many people need to buy an asset for tax reasons before the end of the year? just met a guy, Rob. He needs 300,000. He needs to spend 300K at Bigger Pockets for tax reasons. So,
Yep.
hey, just curious, Rob, do you need to make a move before the end of the year for tax reasons?
Yep.
It's got to be
Yep.
put into service before the end of the year. So it's mid-October. That is enough time to conduct a transaction and have it into service if we get started this week,
Now. Yeah.
right now, today, right? And if they don't, you will start having different conversations with people. That's how I transitioned from, well, call me if you want to buy or sell every 7 to 10 years, to, hey, I am a source of financial information, right? I am a resource. Maybe you need to connect with me about a tax attorney, a tax strategist, a financial planner. Maybe you need to be relooking at your insurance portfolio, right? Any of those things, but that's how I'm setting myself up. I do that, Rob, and I have one more. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I agree with everything you're saying. And the language I would use with buyers and sellers uh, is that I am, in essence, your real estate financial planner. Like, that's how I want you to think about what you're doing with people. Whether it's a first-time home buyer and they're buying their first house, and you're going to be like, listen, this is awesome. You're going to buy your first house. I'm super proud of you. And if we do this right, I will help you buy number 2, and then number 3, and then number 4, and then number 5, and help you build wealth as a family. Is that something you'd be interested in doing? I've yet to meet anybody go, no, I really don't want to build wealth for my family. Right? So if you start thinking of yourself as a wealth determiner for your clients, as opposed to a salesperson, your identity shifts in this business. The way you sell shifts in this business. The way you come across to other people changes, right? Because now they're attracted to you versus you trying to pursue them. And so I would shift that in your brain.
And it actually tees me up perfectly for the follow-up, right? So, one of our friends is the head of the Keller Williams Luxury Division, biggest, business, real estate business by agent count. He gave me something that I've borrowed, which is having a conversation with your database every year. Right now is about the time you could do it. It's time for our annual portfolio review. We're scheduling now for quarter 1. Here's the link. By the way, I have a few spots left this month if you need to do something before the end of the year. And he said that he would do this and he would consistently get like 13% of his appointments. He'd already have them booked for quarter 1. And what does a portfolio review look like? So Larry's on the call, right? He's like, I don't have a portfolio. Yes, you do. You've got a primary residence that's got, if you're like most Americans, is probably the biggest asset that you own, the biggest source of equity that you have. So just having a conversation about your primary, maybe I do a comparative market analysis, having a conversation about your goals. Hey, when do you plan on retiring? What are you doing? Right? Where are we? Just some pretty basic, have you ever thought about making another move? Like those are where I could start of just there. Like year 1, maybe I'm just doing CMAs for everybody, letting them know about the equity that they have and asking them about, what the next plan is when you think you're moving to the next home. They have a plan. They might not have told you about it. Maybe when the kids are in middle school. We want to go for the high school. That's where I would start, and we could do a higher level portfolio review. How would you roll out that initiative, Rob?
First thing I would do is hopefully all of you have segmented your database in a way where you have your top 100s and then your A's and your B's and your C's. And I would just go down the list and make the phone call, right? I'm a big believer in just make the call. If they don't answer, call again. If they don't answer, email, right? Text or email. It's time to schedule your annual portfolio review. Book a time now, right? That's what the text message should say. And you should just go down your top 100 and then your A's and then your B's and then your C's, right? The interesting thing is sometimes your C clients, the C clients in our language are people like, they like you, but you're probably not their real estate guy or gal. They like you. You know them, they like you, but they probably have somebody else. Imagine how you separate yourself from the person that they do work with when you start saying, hey, part of my mission in life is to be a wealth determiner for you and your family. I'd love to schedule a portfolio review, right? To see how we can best position you as the industry changes over the next 12 to 24 months, right? This is a different conversation versus, hey, do you want to buy a house? Do you want to sell a house? Let's have smarter, better conversations with people.
The thing and it's about going on the journey yourself as well. That might be something you could do in quarter 4, right? 84% of agents will retire with only the equity in their primary residence. Like, so that's one, I have that conversation. I share that with all the agents in my world, my co-op agents, other people I'm having that conversation with. 2, going on a journey myself to acquire assets. That's the easiest way if you want to change your client's wealth determinants, is to go on that journey yourself, right? And the third is like, at our current median income, if you make the median income, it would take you 80 years to save enough to retire. So no matter what, if you ever want to retire, you're going to have to invest in something, and real estate is a pretty good long-term investment. That is a conversation I have with everybody. I just had it with like a 24-year-old in the coffee shop. We were there shooting some content for this giveaway that we did. And those are some conversational openers that, like, when I have those, I have found everyone wants to talk about investing. They want to talk about charity. Occasionally, they want to talk about real estate, but that's only if they're like really looking to make a move. People are always curious to talk about making money. Is what I find. People will stop and talk to me, about investing on a daily basis.
Something, Justin, everybody's always wanting to build cash flow, passive income. Like, you hear that a lot, right?
Yes.
And sometimes people feel like it's out of their control. They've got to save a certain amount of money. They need to do a certain amount of deals, right? They're like, oh my God, I need $25,000, $50,000 in order to make $200, $250, $500 a month, right? Listen, this is the best way for each of you right now to create some passive income. If you think of it this way, invert the problem. Can I reduce my expenses by $500? And by doing so, you've just created $500 in cash flow for your family, right? People don't get that. Like, they mess that up all the time, right? So everybody today could go increase their cash flow by reducing some stupid expense you have, okay? You need both. You need both. Q4 is always a great time to be doing that, right? Always a great time to be doing that. So personally, I'm like, take more territory, go get more listings. Let's look at all of our expenses. Is there any place where I can reduce expenses in my business or in my household, right? And then analyze what's been working and then double down on that. Cherie and I had a call yesterday, right? And the call essentially was, Cherie, instead of doing this other thing that you have in mind, this one thing's been working for you, literally just double it, right? Double it, double the list, right? She's like, cool, that makes it a lot easier at that point, right? It's not doing more, it's doing better with what you already are doing, right? Do better. Can you take whatever system you have and move it from a level 7 system to a level 10 system? You dramatically change. This conversation I had with Larry, it was like, Larry, let's take us from a level 7 to a level 8, then to a level 9, to a level 10. That changes it. Instead of trying to add something else, which adds complexity to the system, can we actually get better at what's working already?
I had a good conversation, Rob, on the focus of this as we're doing Q4 business planning. I went and I was in Charleston. I went and visited a friend of mine who seems to be doing really great on a prospecting based team, guy Jason Wang. And Jason goes, Justin, you see these new people taking 4 listings in the first month because I am willing to let the other 80% of the business be a dumpster fire. We're using Excel spreadsheets. We don't even have a CRM. We're just getting that going. He said, and the one thing I'm going to focus on this month is ruthlessly focus on increasing conversion. We're going to script practice. We're going to role play. He goes, because in 30 days, I can double their conversion rate. And that'll do more than anything to
Yeah.
move the needle,
Yeah.
right? Doubling that conversion rate. So that could be applicable for you. Maybe it's not a ruthless script focus, but it is on your listing. Am I doing a pre-appointment package that I'm dropping off in person or sending via Uber or something, right, the day before? Am I like, do I have credentials that I'm presenting? Do I have a portfolio? Like, what am I
Well,
doing?
the reality
Where can I
check,
double that conversion?
yeah, the reality check is this, Justin. Most people aren't in an optimized, like they shouldn't be optimizing. What most people should be doing right now is just having more conversations. That's it,
Always.
right? So it's not like don't optimize until
Mm.
you're so good at just creating as many conversations as possible.
That's very true. These guys they're crushing the contact goal every day. They're hitting that. So now it's level two is how
Yeah.
can I increase
So whether
conversion?
you're an investor or you're an
Yep.
agent or you're any business owner, if you increase your input, you increase your output, right? So if you don't like your output, it's because your input sucks. Let's just be honest, right? Like that's the honest truth. So you want to make more, you increase your input. It's that simple. There was a study done. I think it was a Harvard study, right? And some of you probably heard this before, right? They gave two classes a task, and they divided this class into two groups. One was supposed to build a beautiful clay pot, and at the end of the year, they were going to judge this one class by how beautiful this one clay pot was, right? The other class, they just said, hey, make as many clay pots as you possibly can before the end of the year. Guess who built the most beautiful or made the most beautiful clay pots at the end of the year? It wasn't the one that focused on one. It was the people that like over and over again just kept making clay pots. And eventually they got so good at making those clay pots that they could churn one out and it looked beautiful, right? And so your everything happens in the uh in the activity, in the doing, in the like just you want to get good at riding a bike, like ride a bike a lot, right? Want to get good at sales, go on lots of sales appointments. Want to get good at like making calls, make lots of calls, right? There's no escaping it. Like at this point, Justin, you said, so I remember being the new kid on the block. I was like 17. I'm like 17 years in the business. I still feel like I'm the new kid because every level there's another thing that I'm learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I know exactly how to make money from just activity. And that might be more social media. That might be more phone calls. Like I remember having the conversation with Lauren when we said, what's working? She said, well, me creating videos. I said, great. How many videos does it take to generate a lead? She didn't know. Go, great. Let's go back and look at that. How many appointments have you had? How many videos have you created? And how many appointments? Fantastic. Now let's double that and see what happens. Now, the only way to really know, like, so that there's no anxiety in your life, by the way, if you guys want to ever like remove anxiety, is you track everything. You track your activity, and then you know exactly what you need to do. Oh, if I make 2 videos a day about real estate, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, I will generate X amount of leads a week, which generates X amount of appointments, which makes me X amount of dollars.
I, I would
That's
have a caveat to, I love that. And if you're like me, it can feel really good to like fill out the spreadsheet or whatever. And hey, I'm tracking my contacts to appointment set, to appointment met, to conversion. And what the real issue was my contacts was way too low.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to run the analysis on like 10 data points because I've only gone on 10 appointments. And it's like, no, I
Yeah.
need to go on 100 appointments. And then I'll have enough data to have some like rate to get some real some real numbers of what this
Okay,
actually
real
takes.
conversation, Justin. Real conversation, right?
So for
Here's
us,
what no, let me just tell you, like here's the
please,
real conversation, right? The real conversation is this. If you want to set up and have an unbelievable Q4 and an unbelievable Q1, I want you to literally like quadruple whatever you're doing right now and just execute that play. This is purely ruthless, activity based, go for it like you've never gone for it before. And you 4x it, 5x it, 10x it, whatever the number is, and your life will change. Like, have you ever decided, like, you need to make a decision to go all in and just change your life. And the way you change your life is by going all in for 90 days like you've never gone before. Like, if you could do a sprint between now and the end of the year and just go like all in on that thing, your life changes forever because you now develop a different standard for yourself, a different strategy for yourself, a different habit for yourself. And by the way, you generate different amounts of money for yourself and you never go back. You never go back, right?
yep.
Like,
And okay, so we talked about optimization. We talked a little bit about activity. One of the big things for us as well as database. You should be getting an 8% return on everyone that's in your database that you're communicating with for 12 months, 36 times a year, right? For us, that's why we run an event-based system. This is the best time, mid-October, to connect with everyone in your database and say, "Hey, Rob, I'm updating my card list. I want to stay in touch with you. Hey, can you fill this out?" And I'd start with funnel. You can start with direct reach out. You can post it on social. You'll find some people will just go and fill the form out for you on social. They're like, right, highly conscientious. They like filling out things. I may follow up with a text message. I may have to directly reach out to those people, but I've got an opportunity between Halloween, between Thanksgiving, between every religious tradition that I can think of has some sort of a December holiday, right? Across the board, whether it's Eid or Hanukkah, right, or Christmas. Like there's some in the New Year. There is all these natural opportunities, holiday parties, whatever, to be having conversations around values. We're doing a charity fundraiser, right? Worthy causes. Those are great ways, like to volunteer with people to build intimacy. But go ham because you need people in your database that you are communicating with about real things, like back and forth. That's the other one right there is how do I get people into my database? And that is where all of those people I'm talking to who may not be sales prospects, if I have something of value to stay in touch with them, that is the other piece that we have, right, Rob, is we've got a database of thousands that we're communicating to consistently, right? And so I'd at least start with theirs. Do I have a full brick? And a brick is going to be got their full name, I have their phone number, I have their email address, I have their home address, and I am sending them something of value related to real estate every month. This is going to be either a newsletter, right? Or it's
every
going to
week.
be a report about their property,
Yeah.
like at a
Yeah. Yeah.
minimum. Like that's just a
Yeah.
basic.
We send something, just give everybody perspective. We send something uh practically every week. It's 3 times a month, right? It's 3 times a month. Market report and 2 emails of value. But then also, like if you're doing a phone call every quarter, it's like, guys,
Yep.
listen, let me simplify this business. The bigger your list, the bigger your bank account. Build a list, call it a list, market to the list. You hear me say this all the time, right? For every 20 people on your list that you market to consistently, you close a deal. That's the math, right? So the bigger your list, and this doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what business you're in, guys. Construction, title, mortgage, insurance, real estate, investor. It's the same thing. Like once I understood that concept, like I was like, oh, I could build any business, right? This
Mhm.
is purely build list, call list, market the list. That's it.
The data shows that there are two things that crush everything else in terms of open rate. If I'm sending email and I'm marketing to people, and that's going to be a market report about the value of Tim's home or Larry's home, what's happening in their neighborhood, expert information, and it's going to be listings. If they're interested, if they're interested at all, like of looking at houses, but those two things, like the market report's like a 40% open rate. Typical email open rate, right, Rob? We know this is way under 10%. It's like six, 2 to 6, depending on is maybe a typical email open rate that you're going to get people to, you know, open from just kind of blind email, the emails you get from hotels.com or Hotwire, whoever you signed up for, got you on their email list. So, those
Justin,
are,
let me end it with this real fast because
yeah,
we're going to be jumping on 9:15. Um, so Corey and I spent a lot of money on Alex Hormozy and like his training. I spent a lot of money to be like in the inner circle of it. What do you think his number one marketing ROI is? Right?
it's going
What
to
do you think?
be,
Where do you think he makes the most money on what tactic does he do that makes him the most money?
I would imagine for him, it's going to be email as the most direct conversion from talking to other people in that space. They're using social media to build an email list.
It's email.
Yeah.
25% of all of the revenue that they generate, which is millions and millions and millions. Like I heard him say this yesterday, like while I was listening, email. And I was like, of course, yes. Like that's what we've been doing in our business for years, right? It's like build list, call list, market to the list, right? It's that simple. You're training team members, build list, call list, market to the list. You're training leaders, build list, call list, market to the list. Show me your list. I'll show you your future.
And what I love about that, Rob, is let's say, but I'm different, Rob. I have like a boutique and I'm a lifestyle agent. Awesome. Then your emails should look like no one else in the market, but the methods don't change. The delivery
Well, if they're
doesn't
like, I'm
change.
boutique, I'm blah, 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 I'm like, you're poor. Let's be honest. I'm telling you, I've never met anybody with a small list that makes a ton of money. I never have, right? I never have. It, you could be boutique, and what does boutique mean? Like, what is that?
You
Like, what,
You know what's funny is I interviewed I used to work with the guy Lucas Hahn, who was number one in the Southeast region for KW. He was number 6 in the country overall, like me, it was last year. And he said that one of the biggest things that he made a mistake on, he is a luxury agent. He crushes this luxury market. And as he said, I wouldn't have branded myself so hard as luxury because people weren't calling me. And he's like, I will sell your 600. I will sell all day I do those. Are you kidding me? I will sell your condo. Like it's not, and I love this because he caters to a very high-end clientele. He was walking us through a
yeah.
strategy of like having an extra car ready at the local private airfield. And he was like, no, I will do this all day long. I would not have done that because the challenge with luxury is he's in the market that we're going into all the time where sometimes that inventory is sitting or sometimes
Yeah.
it takes 13 months to sell, right? He's like, no, I want to go work with regular transactions. And I thought that was fascinating. That's the top. He's crushed that. And he's still like, no, I would have done that all day long because there's nothing preventing me from controlling that inventory and then transacting with normal, right around the median price point.
The truth, when you really think about it, the way I would brand that is uh, luxury is not a price point; it's a way of service, right? And
I would agree.
that's how I would approach
Yep.
like being a luxury agent. So it has everything, nothing to do with price point, and everything to do with how I make you feel.
Which is if we go back, we watched Seth Levin came on. He's one of our first guests on Gain Tactical Tuesday, and we've had the conversation with him before. He broke into the market in New York City. built a luxury business there. And he said the way that you do this is you treat every client like luxury. So I really
Yeah,
find
that's
out
it.
who they are. I provide personalized service. I stay in touch with them. And I love it. His proudest achievement, he was telling me, is he converted someone 14 years later that he met at an open house.
God, it's crazy. Crazy.
Right?
Okay. It's
Anybody have any? It's 9:16. Does anyone have any questions? We had a few minutes. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone have a struggle, a challenge? Is there something that you are looking for a specific tactic we talked about, right? The reason again, Rob always reminds me, it is not, we had this conversation at Bigger Pockets. It is never about the 201. It is about doing the 100 level thing to an expert level. It is about doing the simple thing to an expert level. It's making 100 clay pots, not making one perfect clay pot. Yeah. Awesome. Everyone's business optimized. Everyone's uh, Scrooge McDuck swimming in a pile of doubloons. I love it, Genevieve. Glad you're on here.
No, I just personally, first of all, excellent session today. And I think it's really just a matter of all of us selecting the one thing that we're going to focus on from now until year end, the next 75 days, let's say, and
Yeah,
just doing
Cherie,
that thing.
I'm glad you mentioned that. A couple years ago, or last year actually, instead of doing a 135, which there might be some people on here that know what a 135 is, it's like, what's my one goal? What are my three priorities to get to that goal? And what are my five uh, uh, strategies to hit each one of those priorities? And I'm like, dude, that's like 16 things, right? It's like I realized when I was looking at my 135 over the years, I was like, I didn't do anything in this 1-3. I did like one or two things in this 135. So I simplified it for our team and I said, we're gonna do a 1-1-3, right? What's the number one goal, typically monetarily or transaction wise? What is the one priority, right? And what are the three strategies to hit that one priority, right? The one priority for us was take listings. So what are our three strategies to take more listings, right? We had a listing number. What are the three? We're like, what's the, and we know we had a listing number that we wanted to take. What's the number one priority? Listings, take listings. Like, what are the three strategies to hit that number? And then when you just do that, it makes everything super simple. It could be double your list. It could be make more phone calls, right? It could be, uh, uh you've got to find what it is for you. But what are your three priorities at your number one goal, right? Sheree, it's based on what we talked about yesterday.
Mhm.
It's how do you double your
The email,
list?
yeah, the email list is what we're going to focus on,
Yeah, but
and
it's double the list,
double the
right?
list. Yes.
Double the list. So that
Mhm.
means you need to know where you are and then how are you going to double it?
Yeah. And I just want to say personally, it's also just honing in a lot more on time management as well. So, we have a company thing, and then I also have my personal thing as well. Like, I just want to get better at that this year or 2026.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, guys.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
the reminder. This has been good for me.
I've got one last suggestion before we go,
Yeah.
Rob, is if you don't know where to start and you don't know how to double down and you don't know if you're sitting here, like we have been, it's a changing market. And if you've only been in the industry, Rob and I have a warped perspective because we both have been in the industry about 20 years. So this just is business as usual. Things sit, the market changes. This is a shift. We've been through it before. If it's feeling a little heavy, you're not sure what to do, I would start with surveying everyone I know. I could reach out to every single person I know. I could update their database. I could say, hey, Rob, can you help me out? I'm creating some content. I want to be more intentional. Do me a favor. What's the kind of stuff that you would find interesting? Is it about selling a price? Is it about buying a house? Is it local information like Chamber of Commerce stuff about what's happening, development? Is it highlighting local businesses and things to do, right? And they will tell you, like that person, right? And it may not be representative of everybody. It may not be representative of your avatar, but I promise you, you'll re-engage with them by asking them. They'll become invested in your success, right? And you'll get people that'll raise your hand. On a micro level, I always suggest anyone that wants to go on an investing journey, start there of just say, hey, Rob, I'm thinking about just starting a book club. I'm just curious, like, do you invest? What questions do you have about investing? And you could be surprised. Your database will tell you, nope, here's 25 people that raise their hands that are like, I want to learn. Let's read Rich Dad Poor Dad together. Whatever those are some initiatives that I could start right now with engaging people. Do not overcomplicate it. If I don't know where to start, that's what I would do is just evaluate what do I have? How big of a list do I have? Right. And then go on from there, start asking some of those informational questions of people that you meet. You'd be surprised like how many conversations you can open up with like, hey Rob, just met you. All right, hey, I'm just curious, man. You're a normal person, so you're the perfect person to ask this. We're doing some content. Do you invest in real estate? Do you have questions about it? Like, we want to make this applicable to someone like you. What would you engage with? They may not even give you a great answer, but I promise they'll sign up for your newsletter because that's what we're doing every single day.
The sprint between now and the end of the year. Go
Let's
crush
get
it,
after it.
everybody. Take
Someone's
care.
got to take territory. Be
Thank you.
excellent.